I think the reason teaching is so important to me, I love children. Children are such natural beings that they do something for a person. I think they help you to keep young, if nothing else.
Mrs. Morley Summers, for the past 22 years, a teacher in a one-room country schoolhouse. 235 miles northwest of Winnipeg, in the farming community of Gilbert Plains, there stands a small white building. Except for the absence of a few hundred trees and the lack of a belfry, the building looks much the same as it did when built in 1910. It's the Sulphur Creek School, and although it has served the district for 54 years, it's not likely to vanish for a while. Many of the one-room schoolhouses across Canada have been replaced by larger consolidated schools, but in several areas there remains the need for the familiar country school, and with it, the need for a teacher who can handle 8 different grades at once.
I'm glad to see you here this morning. I didn't think you'd make it because of the roads. Would you quietly take off your things and sit down now? Grade 4, we will take page 176, 177, and 178. Grade 7, page 260, exercise 93. Grade 6, page 199.
The day begins, and guided by their teacher, 25 youngsters move another step toward whatever the future holds for them. But perhaps there is more of value here than can be set down in writing, more to be remembered than the practical stuff that tomorrows are made of.
You're taking Mrs. Goose's bath, and you read it over silently, and then I'll come back and take the word study with you. Grade 2, we're taking How the Wren Family Moved. You read it over silently, and then I'll be back with you. Grade 1, are you ready this morning? We have a new word today, found. Say it.
Found.
Say it louder.
Found.
All right. And can you say the sentence, Jane found her mittens?
Jane found her mittens.
All right, Betty Jane, will you turn to page 41 and read page 41?
At last Spot saw a white house. She saw Mother and Jane and Dick and Spot. Mew, mew, she said. Bow, wow, bow, wow, said Spot. Mother ran to Sally and Big Bill. Oh, thank you, she said. You have found our baby. You have found Sally. Sally said, oh, no. I have found Big Bill. I have found a new friend.
And what do you want to do? Get your book out. You can go back and get your book. Grade 4, are you having any trouble? You have one question here, have you? What is it you have? What is the trouble? You can't get it? Well, that's 7 bushels, and you have to figure it out that way. So you use your 7 bushels.
In this solitary room, far from the distractions of town or city, the timeless quest for knowledge continues. For both teacher and pupil, a close relationship shared for 8 years.
Are you having any trouble? You are. What is your trouble? Which type is it? You move your decimal over, the same on both places. Yes, move it over there. That's right. And you're having trouble too? I suppose a teacher teaching from 1 to 8 might be called a juggler. But you do get a system after many years of looking after the differing grades. But there are hectic days among the days that you have too. I know there are days when I don't know just what I'm going to do because every class needs new work to be taken up.
Some color or draw. Some read, but all accommodate themselves to the needs of others. By carefully doubling up on a few lessons, the teacher keeps the class on schedule until the morning recess.
Thank you, Betty. Leave it on my desk and I will correct it later. It is recess time now, class. Those that have hot lunches, would you please bring them up to the container?
Sulphur Creek is more than a school. 5 days a week, it's a living as well as a learning place. Morning recess means time to begin preparations for a lunch that waits more than an hour away, and time for reflection.
It's 22 years ago since I first came to this school. It seems like it was just yesterday. But when I look out over the surroundings, I can see that time has gone by. The trees that used to be all over the schoolyard are gone. The children have grown, or many of them are gone. When I came here first, everyone drove horses. There were toboggans, and some rode a horseback, and others had cutters, but we all went with horses, myself included. I drove a horse and a toboggan, and we really had fun in those days. We often used to race all the way to the school. I remember one time that my horse got a little bit out of hand and I landed with my toboggan against a tree. Children all had a good laugh and I had one too, but we went in and started our work that day, and I think little amusing incidents like that help to bring you closer to the children. Sometimes we have to go back to the old days when we have to use the horses again. Just this year, we woke up in the morning and the snow was blowing and we knew we couldn't get to school with the car. The roads were all blocked, and we would get to the first half mile. Then there would be one man bring a team and a sleigh. We would all get in this sleigh and go the whole mile in the sleigh. Sometimes the horses got down and the other men would have to come and help to get them up and get started. I also remember very vividly of walking those miles twice during that winter over the snowbank. I did that 2 or 3 times during that one winter. But the children did the same. We all walked over the snowbanks and we really had fun, even if it was hard and we were often tired when we got there. We enjoyed it. I find that you have to correlate subjects and make them under a natural surrounding. If you don't, the children don't get the same out of it, especially nature study. If we see a crow outside, we're liable to take about the crow, and if we know the horned lark's back, we take about that, and so on, just whatever comes at the season. The crow, as you know, is a big bird. It is about 15.5 inches from the beak to the tail, and you can tell the crow by the glossy feathers it has right at the throat. It is easy to distinguish it by its sound also. The crow makes a very harsh cry. It has a caw, caw, caw. Raymond, do you think you could tell me how the crow sounds? You say what the crow says. Caw, caw, caw. That's right, that just sounds like a crow. Now the crow makes its nest
These children may be ringed by nature and far removed from a totally man-made world, yet they need reminding of the things they take for granted. And when homework time rolls around, they will be as television-tempted as their urban counterparts.
And they have brown blotches on them. What is it you were wanting, Shirley?
How many eggs does the crow lay?
The crow lays about 4 eggs in its nest, and they're the turquoise color with blotches on, as I told you. The crow is a scavenger. That is, it will eat anything. It will eat grain, insects, and it also will eat dead gophers if it finds them on the ground. Now, you people in grade 1 to 4, I'd like you to take the coloring, the picture you have of the crow, and color it the color that it should be. All black. Crow is all black, isn't it? Grade 5 and 6, would you take and write an essay? You can write on the first impression of the crow. And grade 7 and 8, you go on with your regular assignment. It is a wonderful experience to see the children learning, especially grade 1s. They know practically nothing about learning when they come to school, and it's wonderful to see them day by day learning to read, learning to write, and gradually getting the knowledge that you wish them to get. And it's surprising in a year what they can learn. And I find TV and radios help children a lot. They understand things much more than they used to. Long ago, you talk about electricity or things like that. They didn't understand it. Today, it's not hard to explain that to a child. There are quite a number in my school that I taught their mothers, and it's rather interesting just to see whether they resemble their parents that I taught or whether they're quite different. In some instances, you can see a resemblance, but although they're not any different as far as learning ability goes, they still learn the same way as they did long ago. The children are close to me, and I'm close to the children, but my word is still law as far as they are concerned. They never object to me telling them when they're wrong. If I'm going to have any trouble in school, it's just at the end of winter. The children get restless, and I'm restless myself in the spring. That's the worst time of the year as far as I'm concerned.
Thank thee for the food we eat. We thank thee for the flowers sweet. We thank thee for the birds that sing. We thank thee, Lord, for everything. Amen.
At lunchtime, someone says grace. They all take turns right from grade 1 to 8, and after the grace is said, and everyone laughs and jokes and has a good time. We often have even the radio going, and everyone has a social lunch hour. We have hot lunches because I think it helps the children a great deal. I have noticed since we started taking hot lunches that the children don't get that tired feeling or look that they used to have before we took the hot lunches. Long ago, when they used to just take a sandwich or so in their lunch can, and so often those lunches were even frozen, they always looked so tired and as if they weren't nourished like they do now. The children in this school can have a good time without any equipment. They do like the football, and they like their swings. They all play, but they can go and slide on an old door at the back of the school and enjoy themselves. And they're a little bit iced by the pump, and they'll spend hours, the little ones, just sliding up and down on that. They often want to snowball fights, and snowball fights are terrible. They just cause commotion, because there's always some that prefer to take a hard piece of ice instead of a soft snowball. And we hear lots of little crying and complaining just at that time. But they do enjoy when I go out with them and we all play together, like run, sheep, run, or hide and seek, or long prisoner's base, and many other little games like that. We all play together, big and little. They also take turns. 3 children choose the game each day. I don't choose the games. They choose their own game. And I always get out 10 minutes and sometimes 15 over a year now. This winter, I don't think I've missed hardly a day being out with the children. Yes, I can kick the football. I'm not nearly as good at it as I used to be. I used to be very much sport inclined, but I am getting a little past that. But I do enjoy outdoor sports even yet. And I think it's one way of getting close to children. I think if you go out and play with them and have fun with them, they are ready to do anything that you ask them to do. Here's the route we were taking earlier. This is on the Atlantic Ocean. Do any of you know some of the early explorers that crossed this Atlantic, used it as a means of travel?
John Cabot.
John Cabot.
Hudson.
Yes, Henry Hudson.
Cartier.
And Cartier. And as we mentioned Cartier, we think of the St. Lawrence. The St. Lawrence is a very important to us. Do any of you know why it is
The globe
important
may
to
look
us?
the same as it did to their parents, but the older students know how fast it is changing. The outside world is not as remote as it once was.
Yes,
And soon places that now are just names will one day be real, both for the older children and for those who think the globe is just another colored ball hanging from the ceiling.
Do you know anything about these Great Lakes? Any questions about the Great Lakes?
Which is the largest Great Lake?
The Lake Superior is the largest Great Lake. Grade 1 and 2 and 3, would you go on with your coloring? And I'll be with you just in a moment. Now, would you people sit down and go on with your work at your desk? You like to prepare them for the world that they're going out into. So many times you have that in mind as you're teaching them. And you give them all that you possibly can to take them out into the world. Today, you know that most of the children that you teach are going into cities, are going to other areas. And I think it's a responsibility of the teacher to see that they are prepared to go out and meet the public. People are very concerned about education today. In this district, they want to see their children get an education. They'll do everything they can to do that.
For parents in a rural district, interest in their children's education means more than paying taxes. In winter particularly, transportation can become a problem, testing the Western resourcefulness that helped their grandfathers hang on to this land. In the fading light, many a mother stands careful watch at a kitchen window and from afar sees her loved one safely home. Home, too, goes the teacher, met by her husband. Barring the hazards of unseen snowbanks, they'll reach the farm in a few minutes. It's only a mile and a half away.
It works out fairly good with my wife teaching school. It's a source of extra income, and we have a lot of things to talk over at night after she's coming home from school. She tells me about her experiences at school, and I tell her what I've been doing during the day. The trees on this farm were pulled up. There's little small trees where children come from school in the early days and planted. Each night as they came home from school, they carried a few home with them. They're quite old now, some of them are dying out.
The Summers have lived here since their marriage, and in recent years have used the extra money to modernize their home. Life wasn't quite as comfortable in the 30s.
At that time, it was very hard to get schools. I think there was a surplus of 900 teachers when I got out of normal school. And the first year, I didn't get a school. I must have sent about 200 applications, but I didn't get a school. Then I finally got a school at Mountain Gap, and I stayed there 5 years. And I decided at that time I wanted to change. I don't know why, I just decided I wanted to change. I came over to Sulphur Creek and put in my application, and I got the school here. I think my first salary here was $450 for the first year. And it was here that I met Morley, my husband, and we got married a couple of years later. I've taught off most of the time, a few years out, and I've also taught my 2 children, Donna and Blake, throughout the years.
Hello? Yes? Oh, I was just going to call you about the reunion. I think everything's pretty well arranged. I have to go in this afternoon and get my hair set, and I'll be seeing you about 8 o'clock.
Sulphur Creek is one of close to 900 single-room schools in rural Manitoba, and there are thousands more scattered through the out-of-the-way corners of this vast country. Though every year a number are closed, they are seldom forgotten. The one-room school is more than an outpost of education. It is an anchor stone for a way of life. Tonight, for those attending this special reunion of teachers and students, there is the certain knowledge that there is no school in the world quite like Sulphur Creek.
I enjoy a reunion or any type of a social gathering. Everybody's so free and easy, and we have many good times and good laughs, and I think a good laugh's good for anyone.
building was put up in 1910, I was the first teacher to enter it. I was here for 4 years, and I was followed by quite a number.
It was 1917 when I taught at Sulphur Creek School. I have known Mrs. Summers ever since she came to Sulphur Creek School, and both teaching in one-room schools, we've had a great many things in common.
I was in grade 7 when Mrs. Summers came to teach Sulphur Creek School. She was a very strict teacher, but a teacher that you could put a great deal of confidence in, you know. I can honestly say I learned more with the 3 years I went to school to her than I did the other 6 years that I was in school.
She's so quiet. She brings that quiet dignity into the schoolroom. She just seemed to have that happy knack of getting along with the youngsters, and in my opinion, that's the secret of her success.
As I look back over the years, I don't think I'd care to change them. I'd like to. If I had to relive my life, I think I'd be quite happy to go through the same process and same things that I have done now. I often had thought of changing, doing other things when I started to teach, but I'm glad now I stayed with it.
This is the CBC Television Network.